I swear our house always looks perfect. White walls, polished floors, and my mom bustling around with a smile like nothing ever goes wrong. "Breakfast is ready, boys," she calls, cheerfulness bubbling over. I peek into the kitchen. Dad's already there, scrolling on his tablet. He barely looks up. "Morning," he mutters. Typical. Alina's leaning against the counter, hair falling perfectly over her shoulders. She smirks at me. "Morning, big brother." Her voice has that teasing lilt I've always hated and loved in equal measure. I grin, shaking my head. "Morning, sis. You've been up all night on your phone again?" She rolls her eyes, flipping her hair back. "I might have." "Don't act like you care." "I do care. I've always cared. Maybe too much. But I shrug it off. "Alright, well, don't forget we've got that pipe in the kitchen leaking again. Dad said it needs fixing before dinner." Dad grunts without looking up. "I'll handle it." He taps on his tablet like it's the most important thing in the world. Mom glances at me with that worried mother look. "Don't be too harsh on your sister," she whispers. I nod, though I don't plan to be harsh. I just notice things. And right now, I notice Alina's attention drifting. She glances at the front door every few minutes, biting her lip. She's waiting for someone, I mutter under my breath. Mom smiles faintly, oblivious, and Dad doesn't even notice. Then the doorbell rings. Alina jumps a little. "That must be him," she whispers. I raise an eyebrow. "Him?" "The plumber," she says. Her eyes shine. "Jared. He's new." I open the door and there he is. Rugged, confident, late 20s, hands tucked in his pockets like he owns the place already. He gives me a polite nod. "Hey, I'm here about the kitchen pipe." I step aside. "Right. Come in." Alina lingers behind him, leaning casually against the wall. She tilts her head, letting her hair fall just so, smiling at Jared like he's the only person in the room. "Thanks for coming," she says. Her voice is soft but full of something dangerous. Jared glances at me briefly. "No problem. I'll just check it out." I move into the living room, pretending not to notice the way they exchange glances. My stomach tightens anyway. "You're new here?" I ask casually. "Yeah," he says. "Just moved into town. Figured I'd help out with small jobs while I get settled." Alina pipes up immediately. "Oh, we can introduce you to a few places around here. The cafe downtown has the best coffee." I chuckle dryly. "Seems like you've already made friends." Jared smiles faintly. "I don't know about friends yet. Just settling in." Alina leans closer to him as if proximity alone makes her magnetic. "Well, we'll change that. You'll see this town's cozy." I clear my throat, reminding myself to relax. "It's nothing. Just friendly talk." Still, I can't ignore the way her fingers brush over her hair a little too often, the way she laughs a bit too sweetly at his jokes. "Nothing to worry about," I tell myself. Dad's voice booms from the study. "Dinner tonight. Don't forget." Alina straightens, glancing at me with a mock salute. "Yes, sir," she teases. I shake my head. "She's harmless," I mutter. And yet, my gut twists uncomfortably. Something about today feels off. Jared kneels by the sink, tinkering with the pipe, and Alina hovers nearby, still smiling. I sip my coffee watching them. Just two people, I think. Nothing more. But my mind can't help noticing the spark between them. I shake my head again. "It's nothing. Just a plumber," I whisper to myself. But deep down, a tiny voice warns me. Some things are never as simple as they seem. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Every time Alina and Jared were in the same room, I felt it. A subtle tension I couldn't name. Today it hit me harder. I walked into the living room and caught them leaning close over some paperwork, whispering, heads almost touching. "Do you think we should call the plumber again tomorrow?" Alina murmured, just low enough that I shouldn't hear it. "I guess, if the leak gets worse," Jared replied, his voice casual but there was a quiet intensity underneath. I froze, pretending to adjust the blinds. My chest tightened, a knot forming that refused to ease. "Nothing," I muttered to myself. "I'm imagining it." Later I called Liam. "Hey man, can you talk?" "Sure," he said. "You sound off. What's going on?" I hesitated. "Alina. And Jared. I don't know, I feel like something's wrong." "Wrong how? You mean they're flirting?" "I don't know." I snapped, frustrated. "Maybe. There's something between them I can't ignore." "Slow down," Liam said. "You're reading too much into this. Are you sure it's not just harmless? People talk, laugh, flirt sometimes. Doesn't mean anything." "I want to believe that," I admitted, "but it's different. They They act secretive like I'm invisible. Liam sighed. Look, don't go crazy. Watch, don't confront yet. If they're doing something, evidence will show itself. Don't ruin your head over possibilities. I ended the call, but his words didn't calm me. Later, in the kitchen, Alina was there, acting completely normal. Hey, she said, smiling, stirring her tea. Hey, I replied, trying to sound casual. Busy today? Just chores. You know, cleaning, organizing. What about you? Work stuff. The usual. I paused. I noticed you and Jared spending a lot of time together. She laughed lightly, brushing her hair over her shoulder. Oh, don't be jealous. He's just fixing the house. You think I'd flirt with a plumber? Her tone was playful, but something in the back of my mind bristled. I wanted to push, to demand the truth. It doesn't feel like that, I said quietly. Her laugh turned sharper, like a shield. Seriously, stop imagining things. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. I nodded, but the knot in my chest didn't loosen. Later that evening, I caught them again, Alina leaning over the sink, whispering something that made Jared chuckle. My fingers tightened around my phone, almost wishing I could record it, proof for myself. The next day I met Liam for coffee. I swear it's worse today, I confessed. They barely acknowledge me when I'm in the room. Alina, she keeps finding excuses to be alone with him. Calm down, man. Are you sure it's intentional? I don't know, but it feels like it. Every time I walk in they freeze, or glance at each other. And she smiles at him in this. I don't know way. You can't control it, Liam said firmly. Just observe. Don't accuse without evidence. That'll backfire. I nodded, taking a deep breath. But inside my mind spun. Every laugh, every whispered word, every glance felt like a nail in my gut. Later, I confronted her in the hallway. Alina, can we talk? She tilted her head, curious. About what? I feel like something's going on with you and Jared. I can't ignore it. She smiled, casual, like I was ridiculous. Relax. You're imagining things again. He's just fixing the house. You're being dramatic. Am I? I asked, hurt flashing in my chest. You are, she said simply, walking away. Her smile lingered, sweet and mocking at the same time. I clenched my fists, feeling frustration bubble into anger. But I said nothing, letting her leave, pretending I was calm. In reality, every step she took away from me felt like betrayal already had its claws in. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction. I questioned my paranoia, my trust, everything. The whispers, the smiles, the way she lingered near him. It wasn't just playful, I was sure of it. And yet, I didn't have proof. Just suspicion, heavy and suffocating, twisting my thoughts. I whispered to the darkness, this isn't over. Not yet. I didn't mean to walk in. I thought the living room was empty. I swear I thought they were just talking. But there they were. Alina and Jared, pressed close together on the couch, hands tangled in a way that made my stomach twist. What the... I choked, my voice loud enough to shatter the room. They froze. Alina's eyes widened and Jared pulled back, trying to act casual, but it was too late. Too late for casual. I stumbled, words failing me. Anger and disbelief collided. Alina, what the hell are you doing? She pulled her hands away, standing, but there was no shame in her eyes. It's not what it looks like, she said, voice trembling but defensive. Not what it looks like? I repeated, my throat tight. Are you kidding me? I walk in and this is what it looks like. Jared cleared his throat. Hey, I didn't force anything. Calm down. Calm down? I shouted, stepping closer. She's my stepsister. How could you? Stop it, Alina interrupted, cutting me off with sharp words. It was a mistake, okay? Temptation happened. Don't make it worse than it is. A mistake. I laughed bitterly, disbelief curling around my chest like ice. A mistake is spilling coffee. This is betrayal. Jared shrugged, leaning back like it was no big deal. It happens. You can't control feelings. Feelings? I echoed, voice cracking. You call this feelings? You're destroying our family, our trust. Alina flinched at my words, but she didn't look guilty. I didn't plan this. I'm sorry, sort of. But you need to understand. Understand? I shouted, cutting her off. Understand that you slept with him behind my back? That you lied to me every single day? From the hallway I heard a small gasp. I turned slightly and saw Max, my young cousin, peeking around the corner. His eyes were wide, shocked. Max. I hissed, realizing he had witnessed everything. My anger wavered for a second. Not because I cared about Maxine, but because the weight of being responsible for him for handling this carefully hit me. Alina noticed him too. Her face tightened and she took a step back. "He shouldn't have seen that," she whispered. "I shouldn't have to explain myself to anyone. Not you, not him, no one." I snapped. My chest burned, my hands clenched. Everything I thought I knew about her, about us, shattered. Jared's smirk only made my blood boil. "Look, it's done. Nothing you say changes that. It changes everything." I yelled. "I trusted you, Alina. I trusted you more than anyone." She turned away, biting her lip, avoiding my eyes. "You're exaggerating. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I said it was a mistake. It's over now. Move on. Move on." I repeated, my voice barely controlled. "Do you even hear yourself? You want me to move on after you, after this?" Max shuffled closer to me, his small frame tense. Maybe calm down," he whispered. His innocence cut through my anger for a moment, reminding me of responsibility, of caution. I took a deep breath, trying to control the storm inside me. My hands were shaking. My heart pounded like it wanted to escape my chest. I need to go. I can't." Alina tried to grab my arm. "Don't walk out. Please." I yanked my arm free. "Don't touch me." I snapped, voice hollow but fierce. "I need air." I stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind me. The cool evening air hit my face, but it did nothing to calm the chaos inside. I wandered the streets, fists clenching and unclenching, stomach twisting, head spinning. The world felt wrong. Every laugh, every casual smile from Alina, every shrug from Jared, it all replayed in my mind, stabbing at me. Trust broken. Family fractured. I had no answers, only rage and heartbreak. I leaned against a lamppost, breathing hard, trying to make sense of the betrayal. But I couldn't. Not yet. One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. I shut the door to my apartment and sank onto the couch, my hands covering my face. I could still see them in the living room, Alina and Jared laughing as if nothing happened. My chest burned with humiliation, rage, and disbelief all at once. Why would she do this? I muttered to myself. How could she betray me like this? How could I have been so blind? My phone buzzed. Was Liam. I hesitated but answered. "Hey," I said, voice tight. "Finally," he said. "You sound awful. Talk to me." "I don't even know where to start," I admitted. Alina. And Jared. I caught them together. Liam went silent for a moment. "Shit. Are you okay?" "No. I'm not okay," I said, gripping my hair. "I feel sick. I can't stop thinking about it. She's my stepsister, Liam. I trusted her. And he didn't even care." "Yeah, I get it. That's a brutal betrayal," he said softly. "You have every right to feel the way you do. But what are you going to do about it?" I don't know," I admitted. Part of me wants to confront her. Part of me wants to expose them. And part of me just wants to destroy them. "Slow down, man. You can't make rash decisions when you're angry," Liam warned. "Think carefully. You don't want to regret anything later." I rubbed my eyes, trying to calm the storm inside me. I keep seeing the signs now. The secret messages, the stolen glances, the whispers. This didn't happen overnight. They've been meeting for weeks, maybe longer. And my parents, they have no idea. Liam's voice was steady. "Exactly. That's why you need a plan. You can't just explode. You need control. Evidence. Strategy." I paced the room, the walls closing in. "Evidence," I repeated. "Yes, proof. I can't just rely on my gut anymore. I need something concrete, something that can't be denied." "Right," Liam said. "And while you do that, don't let your emotions make you reckless. This is bigger than anger. This is about trust, your family, and your future." I sank back onto the couch, phone clutched in my hand. I keep thinking about Mom. She's so kind, she'd never suspect this. And Dad, he wouldn't even notice. If they find out the wrong way, it could ruin everything. "You'll handle it carefully," Liam said. "You're smarter than they think. Just don't let rage guide you." I nodded, though he couldn't see me. "I need to track their meetings. Every hidden text, every suspicious schedule. I can't let anything slip by." "Good," Liam said. "And when you confront them, do it on your terms. Calm, collected, with proof. Not when you're burning with emotion." I took a deep breath. I don't even know if I should confront them directly or let karma take care of them. "Both options are valid," Liam said. "Sometimes the best revenge is silence. But if you confront them, do it wisely. Make sure it counts. I rubbed my temples. I can't believe I trusted her. I can't believe I didn't see it. And he's just arrogant enough to think he could get away with it. Exactly, Liam agreed. Which is why you need to play smart. Watch, collect evidence, and then decide. You still have the upper hand. I stared out the window, the city lights blurring as my thoughts spiraled. Upper hand. I need to remember that. I can't let this break me completely. I know you won't, Liam said. You've got brains and patience. Use them. Don't act on pure emotion. I hung up, my fingers trembling slightly. I opened my laptop and started making a list. Dates, times, messages, moments I'd noticed them together. Each one was a dagger in my chest, proof of betrayal I hadn't wanted to see. This isn't just about emotions anymore, I whispered. It's about strategy. About exposing the truth without destroying myself in the process. I stared at the screen, determination settling in. Rage was still there, burning, but now it was focused. I wouldn't act recklessly. I wouldn't let them see me crumble. I'd bide my time, gather my evidence, and then they would see. Not through my anger, but through their own actions catching up with them. And I'd make sure it hit them where it hurt most. I stayed quiet while everything started to crack. At work, whispers followed Jared like a shadow, and I never had to say his name. A client asked me, "Is that the plumber who double-booked and vanished?" I shrugged and said, "Ask him." That was enough. Later, I ran into him outside the building. He forced a grin and said, "People are talking. Did you say something?" I met his eyes and replied, "I didn't have to." His smile died and I walked past him without another word. Alina felt it too. At dinner, her phone buzzed non-stop and she snapped, "Can everyone stop staring at me?" Mom looked confused and said, "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Alina pushed her chair back and muttered, "Nothing," before storming off. I kept eating, silent, steady, watching guilt do the work for me. The next push came by accident. I was getting coffee when a man beside me laughed and said, "You know Jared, right?" I nodded. He shook his head. Figures. He always chased trouble. Lost jobs, burned bridges. Never learned. I asked, "You worked with him?" He replied, "Used to." I got out before he dragged me down. I thanked him, knowing karma didn't need my hands anymore. That afternoon, Jared confronted me again. "You're enjoying this," he accused. I said calmly, "I'm healing." He scoffed, but his voice cracked when he asked, "Can you make it stop?" I answered, "You could have stopped it." He had nothing left to say. Evelyn called that night. "You sound different," she said. I admitted, "I'm not shaking anymore." She replied, "That's control, not cruelty." I hesitated and said, "I still hate what they did." She answered, "Hate fades. Power stays if you're careful." I breathed out slowly, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Alina tried once more. She cornered me in the hallway and whispered, "Why are you doing this to me?" I said, "I'm not doing anything." She snapped, "Everyone thinks I'm awful." I replied, "Then prove them wrong." She turned away, shoulders slumped, finally small. I sat alone later thinking about trust. Anger no longer screamed in my head. It whispered, satisfied. I didn't need revenge scenes or loud victories. Watching truth surface was enough. I texted Evelyn, "I think I can move on." She wrote back, "That's the real win." I closed my phone and smiled, knowing karma had momentum now and I no longer needed to push. Over the next few days, silence did the loudest damage. Jared avoided eye contact, and when someone joked about reliability, he flinched. I overheard a supervisor say, "We need dependable people," and Jared replied, "I am, too fast." I kept my eyes on my screen and said nothing. Alina stopped posting online. When she did, comments turned sharp. She texted me, "Can we talk?" I replied, "I'm busy." She sent, "Please?" I waited an hour and answered, "Be honest with yourself first." The typing dots vanished and so did her certainty. Evelyn met me for a walk. She asked, "Do you feel empty?" I said, "No, I feel steady." She smiled and said, "That means you're healing." I admitted, "I'm scared to trust again." She answered, "Trust starts with boundaries." I nodded, grateful. That night, Jared knocked on my door. He said, "I messed up." I replied, "You made choices." He said, "I can fix this." I answered, "You can't fix what you broke." He lowered his head and whispered, "I'm sorry." I said, "Say it to the people you hurt." He left without another word. I slept better. The anger faded into clarity. I wasn't winning over them, I was winning myself back. In the morning, I looked in the mirror and said, Keep going. The path felt firm beneath my feet and karma kept moving. I checked in with Evelyn once more. She said, "Don't rush forgiveness." I replied, "I won't." She asked, "Do you want justice or peace?" I said, "Both if I'm honest." She laughed softly and said, "Peace comes first." At home, Mom asked, "Is everything okay?" I said, "I'm handling it." She squeezed my hand and smiled, unaware. I chose not to tell her yet. Protecting her mattered. Days passed. Jared lost a contract. Someone said, "We need trust," and he packed his tools quietly. Alina watched from the doorway, pale. She whispered, "I ruined everything." I answered, "You chose everything." She nodded, tears falling, finally understanding. I went to bed calm. I wasn't cruel. I was done. Karma moved and I stepped aside. In the quiet, I felt gratitude. Not for pain, but for clarity. I sent one last message to Evelyn, "Thank you for keeping me grounded." She replied, "You did the work." I turned off the lights and rested. Tomorrow would bring questions, rumors, and apologies. I didn't need to answer them. My silence was complete. I had learned the cost of trust and the value of self-respect. With that lesson, I felt ready for whatever came next, steady and unafraid. I smiled once more, breathing easily. The storm had passed. Control replaced chaos. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was choosing myself, step by step, letting time finish what truth had started. That was enough for me and for the life I was rebuilding. Peace felt earned and I carried it forward without looking back. I stayed quiet while everything started to crack. At work, whispers followed Jared like a shadow and I never had to say his name. A client asked me, "Is that the plumber who double-booked and vanished?" I shrugged and said, "Ask him." That was enough. Later, I ran into him outside the building. He forced a grin and said, "People are talking. Did you say something?" I met his eyes and replied, "I didn't have to." His smile died and I walked past him without another word. Alina felt it too. At dinner, her phone buzzed non-stop and she snapped, "Can everyone stop staring at me?" Mom looked confused and said, "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Alina pushed her chair back and muttered, "Nothing," before storming off. I kept eating, silent, steady, watching guilt do the work for me. The next push came by accident. I was getting coffee when a man beside me laughed and said, "You know Jared, right?" I nodded. He shook his head. "Figures. He always chased trouble. Lost jobs, burned bridges. Never learned." I asked, "You worked with him?" He replied, "Used to." I got out before he dragged me down. I thanked him, knowing karma didn't need my hands anymore. That afternoon, Jared confronted me again. "You're enjoying this," he accused. I said calmly, "I'm healing." He scoffed, but his voice cracked when he asked, "Can you make it stop?" I answered, "You could have stopped it." He had nothing left to say. Evelyn called that night. "You sound different," she said. I admitted, "I'm not shaking anymore." She replied, "That's control, not cruelty." I hesitated and said, "I still hate what they did." She answered, "Hate fades. Power stays if you're careful." I breathed out slowly, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Alina tried once more. She cornered me in the hallway and whispered, "Why are you doing this to me?" I said, "I'm not doing anything." She snapped, "Everyone thinks I'm awful." I replied, "Then prove them wrong." She turned away, shoulders slumped, finally small. I sat alone later thinking about trust. Anger no longer screamed in my head. It whispered, satisfied. I didn't need revenge scenes or loud victories. Watching truth surface was enough. I texted Evelyn, "I think I can move on." She wrote back, "That's the real win." I closed my phone and smiled, knowing karma had momentum now and I no longer needed to push. Over the next few days, silence did the loudest damage. Jared avoided eye contact, and when someone joked about reliability, he flinched. I overheard a supervisor say, "We need dependable people," and Jared replied, "I am, too fast." I kept my eyes on my screen and said nothing. Alina stopped posting online. When she did, comments turned sharp. She texted me, "Can we talk?" I replied, "I'm busy." She sent, "Please?" I waited an hour and answered, "Be honest with yourself first." The typing dots vanished and so did her certainty. Evelyn met me for a walk. She asked, "Do you feel empty?" I said, "No, I feel steady." She smiled and said, "That means you're healing." I admitted, "I'm scared to trust again." She answered, "Trust starts with boundaries." I nodded, grateful. That night, Jared knocked on my door. He said, "I messed up." I replied, You made choices. He said, I can fix this. I answered, you can't fix what you broke. He lowered his head and whispered, I'm sorry. I said, say it to the people you hurt. He left without another word. I slept better. The anger faded into clarity. I wasn't winning over them, I was winning myself back. In the morning, I looked in the mirror and said, keep going. The path felt firm beneath my feet and karma kept moving. I checked in with Evelyn once more. She said, don't rush forgiveness. I replied, I won't. She asked, do you want justice or peace? I said, both if I'm honest. She laughed softly and said, peace comes first. At home, Mom asked, is everything okay? I said, I'm handling it. She squeezed my hand and smiled, unaware. I chose not to tell her yet. Protecting her mattered. Days passed. Jared lost a contract. Someone said, we need trust, and he packed his tools quietly. Alina watched from the doorway pale. She whispered, I ruined everything. I answered, you chose everything. She nodded, tears falling, finally understanding. I went to bed calm. I wasn't cruel. I was done. Karma moved and I stepped aside. In the quiet, I felt gratitude. Not for pain, but for clarity. I sent one last message to Evelyn, thank you for keeping me grounded. She replied, you did the work. I turned off the lights and rested. Tomorrow would bring questions, rumors, and apologies. I didn't need to answer them. My silence was complete. I had learned the cost of trust and the value of self-respect. With that lesson, I felt ready for whatever came next, steady and unafraid. I smiled once more, breathing easily. The storm had passed. Control replaced chaos. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was choosing myself, step by step, letting time finish what truth had started. That was enough for me and for the life I was rebuilding. Peace felt earned and I carried it forward without looking back. I walked into the living room, heart steady but my mind sharp. Alina and Jared were sitting on the couch, pretending to be calm, but I could see the tension in their eyes. I didn't speak at first. I let the silence hang. Alina finally broke it. You're here. Again. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. I'm here because this ends now, I said, keeping my tone cold. No more hiding. No more excuses. Jared scoffed. You think you can lecture me? You're not in charge here. I don't need to be in charge, I said slowly, letting each word land. I just need you to understand the consequences of what you did. Alina's eyes filled with tears. Please, I made a mistake. You have to forgive me. I shook my head. Forgive you? That's not mine to decide. I can control my reaction, but your choices aren't erased by tears. She took a step toward me. I'm begging you. I didn't mean for it to hurt anyone. Please just stop, I said sharply, raising my hand. Stop speaking as if words can fix this. Actions have weight and yours destroyed trust. Mine, my parents, and our families. That doesn't vanish because you're sorry now. Jared leaned forward, fists clenched. You're overreacting. You've been spying, creating drama. I didn't force anything. You didn't force her, I admitted. But you participated willingly, knowing the risk, knowing the trust you were breaking. That's on you, Jared. And now you're facing it. Alina's sobs grew louder. I love you. Isn't that worth anything? I laughed bitterly. Love. You don't get to hide behind it. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. You used it as a mask. At that moment, Dad stepped into the room. His presence was heavy, commanding. What's going on here? His voice was calm but authoritative, the kind that could silence an entire room without raising itself. I gestured toward Alina and Jared. This is what I've been dealing with. This is why I've been distant. This is betrayal in its purest form. Dad's gaze fell on Alina. Is this true? His voice didn't shout, but it carried a weight that made her shrink. Alina stammered. Yes. I made a terrible mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't. Dad interrupted. Sorry? Do you understand the damage you've done? Yes, she cried, falling to her knees. I know. Please, I can fix it, I swear. No, Dad said firmly. You cannot fix trust once it's broken. You can try to make amends, but your actions have consequences. His eyes met mine briefly, giving me permission to stand strong. I turned back to Alina. I won't forgive you fully. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You need to face what you've done. Guilt, public shame, regret. Feel it all. Only then will you understand why this hurts so much. Jared muttered, You're cruel. This is unnecessary. I stepped closer to him, voice low but sharp. I'm precise. I'm not cruel. I'm letting reality speak. You made your choices. Now live with them. Nothing I do can undo what you've done, but I can ensure you recognize it fully. Alina's voice cracked. Please, Enough, I said. I won't let you manipulate me with guilt or tears anymore. I control my anger. I control my response. You control your actions. And your actions have consequences. Dad spoke again, his gaze sweeping over both of them. I am disappointed, Alina. You had every advantage, every chance to do right. Instead, you chose deception. Jared, your immaturity and selfishness led you here. I expected better from both of you. Alina buried her face in her hands. I understand. I'll leave if that's what you want. You don't get to choose that, I said. You get to stay and face the results. The family, your friends, your reputation, everything is affected. That's the price. Jared's jaw tightened. And what about you? What are you going to do now? I stared at him, letting the silence stretch. I'll move forward. I'll rebuild trust where it's been broken, protect the people I care about, and let your actions speak for themselves. I won't be dragged down, and I won't be distracted by manipulation or regret. Alina whispered, I wish I could take it back. You can't, I said simply. All you can do is accept it, learn from it, and maybe someday act better. Dad placed a hand on my shoulder. Stay firm. You've done nothing wrong here. Your integrity is intact. I nodded, breathing slowly. The room was heavy with regret, tension, and silence. The confrontation wasn't about me proving power, it was about facing truth and letting it resonate. Alina's tears fell freely. Jared shifted uncomfortably. They realized that forgiveness isn't granted lightly, and control over one's life and emotions is earned, not demanded. I said finally, this ends now. Speak when it's honest, act when it's right, and live with what you've done. That's all I can offer. Dad nodded. Well said. I turned and left the room. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I had control. I had clarity. And for the first time since discovering their betrayal, I felt the sharp relief of justice unfolding, not by my anger but by the truth they could no longer hide. Silence followed me down the hallway, heavy but clean. The confrontation was over. The consequences were in motion. And I finally could breathe again. I woke up early, the apartment quiet, my mind finally calm. The storm had passed, but the wreckage remained. I stood in the living room and said out loud, You survived. Hearing it made it real. I hadn't won a war. I had endured it. Liam called while I was making coffee. You sound different, he said. I feel different, I replied. That's growth, he said. Proud of you. I didn't break, I said softly. No, he answered. You bent and came back stronger. Later I met Evelyn at the park. She studied my face and asked, How do you feel today? Clear, I said. Still hurt but clear. She smiled. That means you're healing. I trust myself again, I admitted. That was the hardest part. She nodded. Self-trust is everything. We walked in silence for a while. I finally said, I'm cutting ties. With them, she asked. With the version of me that tolerated lies, I said. That's healthy, she replied. Back home, I opened a drawer and pulled out small things Alina had given me over the years. A watch, a notebook, a photo from a holiday. I stared at them and said, You don't own space in my future. I placed them in a box, sealed it, and slid it under the bed. Not out of anger, but out of respect for closure. Mom called later. You've been quiet, she said gently. I needed time, I answered. I trust you, she said. That means more than you know, I replied. That evening, Evelyn came over. She watched me move furniture, changing the layout. New energy? She asked. New chapter, I said. She laughed. I like this version of you. So do I admitted. We sat on the floor talking. I told her, I'm making plans. Travel. New projects. A life that isn't built around damage control. She said, You deserve that. I won't let bitterness follow me, I said. Good, she replied. It doesn't belong to you. Liam stopped by with takeout. He looked around and said, Place feels lighter. It is, I said. He raised his drink. To surviving. I clinked mine with his. To becoming better. That night, I packed old clothes, memories tied to nights I wanted to forget. I whispered, Thank you for the lesson, and closed the bag. I wasn't erasing the past. I was learning from it. A message came from Alina. I'm sorry. I'm losing friends. I stared at it and typed, I hope you learn. She replied, "I'm scared." I answered, "So was I." Then I put my phone down. I didn't feel joy at her pain. I felt distance. That was progress. Evelyn called before bed. "Any regrets?" she asked. "Only that I trusted without boundaries," I said. "That won't happen again," she replied. "No," I agreed. "I know my worth now." Days passed. Jared lost work. People talked. I didn't listen. Their consequences weren't my responsibility anymore. I focused on mornings, routines, and rebuilding habits that were mine alone. I stood on my balcony one evening and said, "You're free." The city hummed below, indifferent but alive. I breathed deeply and felt present. Mom visited one afternoon. She looked around and said, "You seem peaceful." "I am," I said. She hugged me and whispered, "I'm glad you chose yourself." "So am I," I replied. I met Liam for coffee again. He asked, "Do you miss who you were?" "No," I said. "I respect him, but I've outgrown him." He smiled. "That's the answer." Evelyn joined us later. She said, "What's next?" I answered, "A life built on honesty." She raised an eyebrow. "And love." "When it's earned," I said. That night, I looked in the mirror and said, "You did good." The reflection looked tired but steady. I wasn't perfect. I was stronger. Another message came, this time from a mutual friend. "Things are messy for them." I typed back, "I wish them clarity," and meant it. I turned off the lights and lay down, feeling the sting of betrayal still there, faint but real. It didn't own me anymore. Pride replaced shame. Survival replaced pain. I whispered into the dark, "This is how it ends." Not with revenge, not with forgiveness, but with growth. Somewhere else, they would keep facing consequences I didn't design. Life would handle that. I had my own path now, and it felt solid beneath my feet. I closed my eyes, calm and awake inside, knowing I had risen. The morning light spilled across the apartment, soft and golden. I stretched and breathed in slowly. The tension that had weighed on me for weeks felt lighter, almost gone. Today wasn't about anyone else. It was about me. Evelyn called as I poured coffee. "Morning," she said cheerfully. "Morning," I replied, smiling. "I slept well." "Good. You sound different." "I feel different," I admitted. "I'm done carrying what isn't mine." She laughed softly. "That's progress." "I realized something," I said. "I can't control their consequences, but I can control my own life." "Exactly," she agreed. "And you've been doing that beautifully." Later Liam stopped by. "I heard you're moving forward," he said. "I am," I said, shrugging. "I'm reclaiming everything I lost." He smiled, eyes bright. "You've come a long way." "I had no choice but to," I replied. "I couldn't stay broken forever." We sat at the kitchen table, mugs in hand. Silence settled comfortably between us, filled with mutual understanding. I said finally, "It's strange how peace feels like it's earned, not given." "That's life," Liam said. "The moments we fight through make the calm worth it." I nodded. "I've learned who's worth my trust. Liam, you, Evelyn, that's it. No more half measures, no more people who don't respect boundaries." "That's wise," he said. "Takes courage to cut ties." "I have the courage now," I admitted, letting my chest relax. Evelyn came over later in the afternoon. I showed her the apartment, now rearranged, lighter, brighter. "New chapter," I said, gesturing toward empty shelves where reminders of the past had been. She smiled. "It's beautiful. You've literally cleared the space for your future." "That's the idea," I said. "Every old gift, every token of betrayal, it's gone. I don't need reminders to haunt me." We sat on the couch, sunlight warming the room. I said, "I almost believed I'd never feel this steady again." "You will," she said softly. "This is just the beginning." I looked at her, grateful. "I want honesty from now on. No games, no lies." "Agreed," she said. "I'm with you." I reflected on Alina and Jared, their faces appearing in my mind briefly. I felt no rage, no craving for revenge. Just distance and the quiet satisfaction that truth had unfolded without me needing to push it. My phone buzzed with a message from a mutual friend. "They're finally facing the fallout. It's rough." I smiled faintly and typed back, "I hope it teaches them." Then I put the phone down. My responsibility wasn't their punishment, it was my peace. I called Liam later. "I think I'm ready," I said. "Ready for what?" "To fully move on. No reminders, no looking back." "That's good. It's not forgetting, it's choosing freedom." I walked through my apartment, inspecting every corner, making small adjustments. Old photo frames were replaced with blank canvases and greenery. Each act was symbolic, a gesture of reclamation. That evening, Evelyn and I made dinner together. She laughed as I tried to cook. "You've gotten better, but you still burn things." "I'm improving," I said, smiling genuinely. "This is about building, not destroying." We sat down with our plates and I said, "I realized healing isn't about forgetting, it's about learning. About trusting myself again. About knowing I can handle life no matter what comes." Evelyn reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "And you're stronger for it." I took a deep breath, thinking about the past, the lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak. "It hurts to remember," I said quietly. "It does," she agreed. "But it doesn't control you anymore." "No," I said firmly. "I control me now." Later that night, I stepped onto the balcony, the city glowing beneath me. The breeze felt fresh, cleansing. I whispered, "Goodbye to what broke me. Hello to what builds me." I thought about packing, moving, starting anew. A small smile curved my lips. "It's time for a life that's mine," I said. I imagined waking up tomorrow in a space untouched by toxic influence, surrounded only by people I trust, my energy reclaimed. Evelyn joined me, wrapping her arm around my shoulder. "You're at peace," she said. "I am," I admitted. "And I'm ready for more, life, trust, everything I almost lost." I texted Liam, feeling complete. "Thank you for standing by me." His reply was quick. "Always. You earned it." I put the phone down, chest full, mind clear. The next morning, I took a box filled with old letters, gifts, and reminders of Alina, carrying it to the dumpster. Each item went in silently, a symbolic farewell. I whispered, "This is the end. You don't belong in my life anymore." Walking back, I felt lighter, unburdened. I wasn't running from the past, I was walking toward myself. Every step was deliberate, every breath intentional. Evelyn met me outside. "You look free," she said. "I feel free," I replied. "I survived. I rebuilt. I can choose happiness now." She smiled, leaning close. "And I'm glad to be part of it." "Me too," I said, squeezing her hand. "The right people make all the difference." Later, alone, I sat at my desk and wrote down my plans. Travel, career, personal goals. For the first time in months, I felt in control, excited for tomorrow, rather than weighed down by what was lost yesterday. I glanced at my phone. No messages from Alina, no updates from Jared. It didn't matter. Life had a way of balancing itself, and I no longer had to witness their reckoning. I focused on my own. As night fell, I stood by the window looking at the lights in the distance. I whispered softly, "I've survived betrayal. I've reclaimed myself. I've chosen peace." And for the first time in months, I smiled fully, without restraint. The past had its sting, but I had the pride of rising above it. Tomorrow, I'd wake in a home that was truly mine, surrounded by people I trusted, ready to face the world with strength, clarity, and a heart no longer weighed down. The city lights below mirrored the new life I was stepping into, bright, endless, and mine. I turned off the lights and lay down, calm and awake inside, feeling the bittersweet ache of survival. I had moved on. I was free. And that was everything.